This is Fadhil Kadhim Hashemi. I'm talking about the case of kidnapping my son from Sajjad Tehran Hospital on 1984. All the document will be shown in a separate movie. My wife was hospitalized for childbirth in Sajjad Tehran Hospital, and on 24th of December 1984 a boy was born. He was healthy as per hospital document, and the childbirth certificate was issued at the same date. After delivery, they sent my wife to the 3rd floor of the hospital, and the child settled in the newborn room located in the 1st floor of the hospital, far from his mother. At the same delivery day, Dr. Tabatabie discharged my wife from the hospital. Before feeding the child, she recommends keeping the child in the hospital for a few days. The newborn remained alone in the hospital for the 3 days, but I was visiting him daily and he was healthy, settled in the newborn room, and no one of the nurses told me he is suffering from any health problem. In the 4th day, I went to meet the child. Dr. Azghandi told me your child was not healthy. Your child has insufficiency in heart and brain, and he passed away because of that. I trust the doctor's description without any doubt, and without seeing the corpus of my child or any document to prove his insufficiency or death. This description is also against the document issued by the doctor himself after birth. On 1995, and by observing a newspaper report about child's kidnapping from the hospital, so I became doubtful about the case. I raised a case against the hospital in one of Tehran courts. I declared that there is no death documents prove the death of my child in the hospital and request investigation. The court requested the intelligence police to send one of their police to the hospital to investigate the case. In the hospital, we didn't find any document prove the death of the child. Then the hospital manager requested to investigate for the death of the child in the cemetery document. The cemetery issued notice of death number 30748 holding only my family name. If we look of that death of notice, the following important information was left empty. First, the date of death was left empty. The notice issued after 8 days from death declaration by the hospital. The gender of the child was left empty. The name of the parents of the child was left empty. The required signature from the management of the cemetery was left empty. The name and the signature of the person who handled the corpus was left empty, and the reason of death mentioned is a premature child. This is against hospital document. Finally, there is no death certificate issued for this child by the hospital in the cemetery document. And then the notice is for a grave number 39, row 121, track 93 of the cemetery. But cemetery documents shows that this grave is also belong to another child, Salhabadi, from Mahdiya Hospital. The court verdict issued to acquit of hospital officials. The reason is that they mention death, fake death notice. At the same time, I requested from the Ministry of Health to investigate the case. They issued a report confirmed that the child was healthy and there is no any death records issued for him. They requested serious and repetitive interrogation for the person at that time. Refer to the mentioned Ministry of Health report and the notice of death. Iran General Prosecutor Mr. Muqtadai requests further investigation. At that time, I requested again grave exhumation. The request rejected and the case closed without any serious action. The case 2 times published in Iranian newspaper, and that on 1995. If we look to my wife document, shows that all the records and status from delivery till discharge from the hospital is completed and signed by the doctor in charge. But for my son hospital documents, we observe that the most of important records and the status after birth, including the death status, was left empty and not signed by the doctor in charge. From the above observation, we will conclude that the doctor in charge declared the death of child only verbally. He did not left any documents or records for the death of the child, as he was aware of kidnapping of the child. So if in the future the case will be exposed and the kidnapping will be cleared, so he will not be accused of issuing that fake death of documents. Only verbally he declared the death of the child. On 2008, and this year I requested again to open the case from the head of Judiciary of Iran and requested grave exhumation. The request accepted and the file forwarded to Tehran Criminal Court. The criminal court judge requested the cemetery to send him the death notice. The officer in the cemetery made a copy of the original of the notice and cut it from down and attached with a letter from the management of the ministry. The judge observed the notice, then he requested the original one. They sent the original one, and the person who issued it, Mr. Mahmoud Sabbagh, became exposed. At that time, the judge requests grave exhumation. According to the cemetery document, this grave should have 2 children. After exhumation, we found the skeleton of 1 child. Meanwhile, and before exhumation of grave number 39, the grave beside this grave was opened by mistake, but no child was found inside it. That means that grave also related to another kidnapped child. The representative from Kausar Genetic Lab were present during the exhumation. They took a sample from the skeleton to the lab. At that time, the lab fails to determine the DNA from the skeleton, but they declared that the dimension of the skeleton from the exhumation doesn't match with my child. The forensic medicine confirmed the same. The judge in charge sent a letter to the criminal police to bring Dr. Azghandi, the doctor in charge, to the court for an interrogation. In response, the clinic where the doctor worked announced that there is no doctor working in this clinic, such a doctor working in this clinic. The police sent another letter to the clinic and they tried to hand it to the secretary of the doctor himself, but she avoids to receive the letter. Finally, the police sent the request to his home. Then he presented to the court, but no serious interrogation again. On March 2012, at this time, the genetic center upgraded his test equipment and they repeat the same test on the same samples which they still have. The result was successful and they declared that the lack of relationship between the mother and the skeleton. At this stage, I requested again a serious interrogation to the hospital official, The doctor present again, but no serious action. He denied everything. The judge requested investigation from hospital document to find the children born at that time, at that period. The request not proceeded, and the judge requests to close the case because of long time, and that exactly just after the getting the DNA approval, which confirmed that the child in the grave is not my son. On 19th June 2013, the criminal court issued a details report clearly declared the child kidnapping. And during my investigation in the cemetery, I observed that there is a dead child in the hospital. Abul Hassani, he already died 1 week before the death of my child announcement. The hospital sent that corpus of that child to the cemetery in the same day when the cemetery issued the fake notice for my son. So they might hold that corpus of that child, so in case to show me in replace of my child. One day, the doctor himself, Dr. Azghandi himself, confirmed the kidnapping of the child, and that time that was at the time when the case was closed, and he was sure that nobody will follow him. But now he's denying. Some of the nurses in the hospital also confirmed the same. Recently, the Iran newspaper also published the same case, declaring that the child is kidnapped and the grave exhumation. And now I'm attaching some part of the movies for the exhumation movies. This is some part of the grave exhumation as well. I was present at that time. This is the person from the hospital, from the cemetery. He's opening the grave, he's removing the sand, and this is the first grave that they was open, and they did not found any child in it. And at the end, they closed this grave and opened the next grave. If we look now, he will show some of the pieces from the bone. Actually, it is related to a big child, suppose maybe 10 years, or now he removed some of the bone. Clearly, he will show to the people present. This is the bone he removed, and it is clearly big one, related to a big child, not newborn. You see? Now he is showing that to the people present in the exhumation at that day. You see? This is not the bone of a big child. Okay, thank you.